All
Oh,
right,
wow. Really?
there we go.
Nice.
Nice.
There we
Welcome,
go.
everyone. Cool. It's nice to see you all here. Thank you for joining. I'm here with Ali, our CEO, and also Will, our CRO. And today we have our second leadership session. It's going to be slightly different than the first one. Today we'll just tackle all of the questions you pre-submitted on the form I shared on Slack. If we have time, we'll also tackle some others you can share on the Q&A tab here. But for now, we just chose the most interesting ones and the most upvoted ones also by the rest of the attendees. So let's get started. Do you guys want to do like a quick round of intros and then I'll start with the questions?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do it.
of
Will, you want to
course.
go first?
Yeah, sure. Nice to meet you, everyone. My name is William. I am the Chief Revenue Officer here at micro1. Super excited to dive into the questions and discuss a little bit more about micro1 and human data.
Awesome. I'm Ali, founder and CEO of micro1. I think these leadership series are going to be maybe my favorite thing to do. Very nice break to talk to our amazing experts. So thank you everybody for joining. And it's very nice to see so many different places. It's we know we have experts from everywhere, but when we see it in the chat like this, it's pretty awesome. So great to see everybody here and thank you for joining.
Love it. Great. Thank you, guys. Since we have Will here for the first time, I think we'll break the ice and have him answer the first question. I love this one from one of our attendees. Hopefully he's here. But Will, can you share how can we help or how can experts help us win the AI race? And how does this translate into more work for our experts?
Of course, that's a good question. And I want to start by saying that we experts, we need to see ourselves as truly, professors. We're here trying to teach AI how to be safe, how to be reliable, and how to be useful. So, how can you help us win the AI race? I would say really turning human expert judgment from real world scenarios, things that we see every single day in our jobs, in our lives, in our interactions with folks in general, turning this into high signal data that models can actually learn from. I think when you work and you're committed to the job, you're making sure that you deliver accurate, safe data and thoughtful data that really translate your expertise into that data pipeline. This leads to our customers having more and higher signal from the data that you produce, which therefore leads to more trust built between Micro1 and our frontier clients, which again extends not only the scope of existing projects, but the the span of domains that we work with, opening more opportunities for different professionals, and also ensuring that these programs they remain consistent, which means that there's also sustainable work, sustained work for experts.
Awesome. Ali, do you want to add any comments there?
Yeah, I think just one thing I'd add is you know if you enjoy work at Micro One, feel free to say it publicly. Of course, as everyone knows, we take a very human first approach. We want to make sure that you have a great experience. So if you don't, there's a lot of ways to let us know so we can fix that. But we really look at it at Micro One. We're as good as our experts and the loyalty of our experts. So we really do appreciate when experts kind of convey that loyalty publicly. So feel free to do that as well.
Yeah, especially love that point. We've been doing a lot of expert interviews and sharing posts on social media and everywhere. So I I second that. If you can share, that's awesome. All right. Will, what do you think about like looking at 2026? What's the biggest goal you both share for Micro One that will have the most impact globally?
Wow, that's a good one. Ali, feel free to weigh in. I think we want to continue to build trust and be directly involved in how models learn. And because of the fact that millions of people are currently using these models, it's truly important that we make sure that accuracy is there, safety is there. People can usually can literally rely on those models to make more informed decisions. And I think this will lead to better discussions. This will lead eventually to people finding more fun while working because there's direct impact which they can see every single day. I think experts may have noticed this by now, but it's quite interesting when you see people discussing about LLMs and people discussing how accurate these answers are becoming and how faster these models are learning, and knowing that they have a direct impact in that development. So this is the way that I see it, and I would say the last point here is truly helping. More people to find work that they truly care, and of course, making sure that humans are spending their time where they're good at. So I think there's a good mission here to make sure that people are truly spending their time where it matters the most, so they can be creative by teaching agents to do more automated work, for example, it leaves bandwidth for them to be more creative, to be more strategic. So yeah, Ali, feel free to.
No, I think you covered it very well. I think the goal of AI generally is to free up time from humans to kind of focus on the more fun, more creative, higher level tasks, which I've talked about a lot, kind of ends up actually creating new functions for humanity that again are just better functions to work in that are more enjoyable. So I think the work that we're all doing here at Micro1 with with our great experts is really allowing for this to happen, to actually happen in the future. And there's there's kind of three key components to that. One, of course, is the improving the foundational models on these like frontier domains, which is pretty much all that we do now. But I think one of the goals for 2026 is for us to really get more into the enterprise layer as well, where we help with very context specific evaluations for agents that are being built in these enterprise contexts. And I think that that's really what's going to kind of push for agents to work well in production, which ultimately results in this goal of many different teams and functions freeing up their time and to focus on cooler and more fun things. So, and then I think that the third one is eventually we want to not only have intelligent systems in the laptop, we want to we want to get into the physical world. So for us that's or for the AI industry, that's obviously robotics. And so we want to kind of get into real world robotics data, which we actually have 3,000 amazing people already working on these pipelines. So we're very grateful for our robotics experts. So yeah, those are a few things. And I think the last thing I would say is we are as a result of training AI models, we're having the honor to create this new job sector. So one of our goals and really important missions at Micro1 is to make sure this is an incredible job sector for humanity to work in. We believe that it's going to be, right now there's probably 100,000 plus, maybe a couple 100,000 people working in this job sector, but over time this will be tens of millions of people working in structured human data creation, maybe even hundreds of millions of people. And right now we're setting the foundation of that. So we have a duty to set up the foundation in a very nice way.
Nice. And Ali, I think with your third point there, you gave me the perfect opening for next question. I think it would be great to also give a quick intro to the experts here who are not on the robotics projects, but as part of those robotic projects, one of the experts asked, how do you think this project would impact the physical AI industry?
Yeah, I can touch on what the pipeline is briefly. So at a high level, the pipeline is a egocentric human demonstration pipeline. So essentially what this means is we have a bunch of talent around the world in 50 plus different countries that are recording themselves in a first person manner do things that they kind of already do, mainly at their home. So these are tasks like folding clothes, tidying up a desk, maybe pouring some wine, whatever it is. And we take these videos and we annotate them for what's called a VLA model, which then robots will eventually be able to train on. Um, so yeah, that's sort of the context, and what this will allow robots to do is eventually all the tasks that are happening in those videos, robots will be able to do to some extent. Of course, it's going to take a long time. The household tasks are not necessarily easy. So the goal is to ultimately have friendly robots, that are able to kind of work in these same tasks that these candidates are doing. And ultimately, we kind of see robotics taking a very similar trend to LLM training, which is it sort of starts with generalists and kind of more um, general tasks, let's say around the house or in the factory and so forth. And then ultimately it will get to this kind of expert level data as well, where maybe you will have I don't know, a chef that is an expert in creating sushi, create sushi specifically to train a robot to do so, or maybe a barber gives a really good haircut, and we kind of use that to train robots to give good haircuts. So we'll have a lot of environments that are a lot more kind of expert level environments ultimately, and I think that that'll be a very exciting future. But we're still far from it. Well, there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah, that's very exciting. And basically, I think this is a message one of our experts left for you both. But she said, you have built a welcoming, safe, and fair, and also optimistic work environment for us. And thank you for that. And then she added a question. I think, Will, you can answer this one. What key factors do you think led us to this success?
Awesome. Thanks again for for the shout out. So yeah, we truly believe that humans are at the center of human data, and we've been talking about human data for a while now. And the most essential component of that is humans. So we like to, and I think that how we've built this environment, it involves a lot of respect. It involves a lot of FaceTime with experts. We don't see experts as workers per se. We see them as partners because they are a key piece of what we do and they're essential to our work with our clients. So I think, constant feedback loops, giving clear directions, giving support, giving training, making sure that they understand how to transcribe their expertise into human data pipelines and how to best extract that data. We understand that this for most of our experts who join Micro1, this is something completely new. So I think this hand holding and making sure that expectations are set, directions are clear enough so they could follow, and the constant support from our talent operations team, from our human data ops team. I think it's what truly helps us build this environment. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that it is fun. We want to make sure that people feel supported and trusted, because eventually this will lead to more quality. Just like in your normal job, if you're happy, if you're confident, if you feel supported by your leaders, you're gonna be more committed, and you're gonna enjoy your job, while doing it. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think one other thing I would add is just on the product side, we take a very uh, merit-based approach with our vetting engine. It is a best-in-class vetting engine, and I think that's part of why we've been kind of growing fast, which is we have experts that sign up and they do a conversational interview on the skills that actually matter, and if they have those skills, then it doesn't matter, their background or where they're from. None of that matters. It just matters if they have those skills for the pipeline and for the job. And so, I think the us kind of really focusing on making our vetting engine model kind of very merit based is I think another you know reason that I would point to. And then of course the exercises that come after the conversational interviews, which allow us to really even more deeply test the graded experts that we have, which is very tasks that are very similar to what they're going to do on the actual job.
Nice. Thank you, Ali. And let's have you answer the next one. So LLMs now have multimodal processing. Do you think this trajectory will lead to AGI in these models, or will AGI need a different structure entirely?
I should have looked at the questions beforehand. Uh, I think I actually don't really. and this may be a surprise, and I actually may try and change my mind on this. We'll see, but at least for now, I actually don't really buy this notion of like AGI. I don't think there's like a moment in time that we kind of look back on and say, okay, this is the moment where the models were now so generally intelligent that they can do everything, and it kind of maybe no longer requires human expertise or something like that. I just think there isn't really a notion for that. I think we're just going to continue iterating on models, whether it's LLM models, whether it's models that can kind of navigate the world, whether it's multi models that are kind of combine the video-based inputs as well as text-based inputs and so forth. I think there's going to be a world where there's many different model modalities as well as many different models that have kind of specific focuses, and you know, and there isn't going to be this kind of one model that is both digitally the most intelligent and physically the most intelligent. Um, and so I don't actually buy that like the premise of that question, Sophie, but I do think it's very important for intelligent systems to do things obviously in the real world and not just like move around pixels on the computer. So I think eventually the most AI labs, I predict will kind of get into robotics in some way or another, and the models that kind of take in the world as input and they act as output is probably the final form of the most intelligent models. And so that's why we're also obviously betting a lot on robotics data and real world robotics data. But these, I think, like it's not really LLM versus robotics models. It's actually like LLM is probably the, what kind of powers the next iteration of these multi-model systems that end up being physically intelligent models. So it's not really a one or the other a situation, because as we get LLM systems to take image and video and so forth as input and reason through it by kind of vectorizing it as text and then deciding what that text means and then what actions to come to. That actually sounds very helpful for navigating the physical world. So a lot of these things are the baseline for what I think will be the eventual form factor of most models. But again, I don't think there will be this like one model that is kind of achieved AGI.
Nice. Will do you want to add anything to that one, or do you want me to ask the next one?
No. I think you were, by the way, I fully agree, and I think you covered everything.
Cool. Great. Will, what about this one? What qualities does micro1 seek in an AI trainer, considering the balance between AI strength and the dependence on human judgment?
That's a good one, and anchoring on what Ali said about a couple questions ago about how our system truly vets the skills for that specific job. What I would say is what we value, the qualities that we value the most here are definitely attention to detail, um, how that person follows instructions, and how they can, again, translate their expertise into human judgment. We see that as these models get smarter, there's a lot of ambiguity, there's a lot of subjective approaches to specific problems and challenges. So it is truly important that our experts, they have this fair and good judgment, and they can sustain that, elaborate on why they think that, not only what the right answer would be if they're correcting the model, for example, but why they think that would be, being able to reference trustable sources, and making sure that they're backed up by knowledge and not just by opinions.
Great.
Ali, anything to
Ali.
add?
No, covered it very well.
Great. Well, I think I have two follow-up questions for this one. The first one is, how do experts directly impact revenue outcomes and customer retention? So it's like similar, like from the expert side, for them to understand a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it goes back to my first ever answer here. The result of experts' work is the human data, and the quality of that data matters a lot to our clients and to micro1. Meaning that uh, volume is, yes, important, but if we don't have consistency, if we don't have quality, if we don't match our metrics, volume alone is not what's going to take us there. So it's all about making sure that the data that is being created, even if at a smaller volume, it's being highly useful to our clients. And by doing that, by focusing on execution, expert retention, which is again a key metric for us, we want to make sure that we retain the cohort throughout pilot and production programs. So this is what helps us build trust with our clients and keep expanding projects and starting new ones.
Great. And now on the customer side, how do customers evaluate value when buying human data or expert in the loop services?
I think it's pretty much the same way how we evaluate that data. So again, consistency, volume, and quality. I think most of the projects that we work on, they have sudden spikes in terms of demands where we really need to roll up our sleeves and work really fast to deliver to clients' deadlines. So I think this trust that is built in a sense that regardless of the requirement, we've built a team here that we can fully trust, which is composed, of course, by many experts. And then by trusting these experts, we want to make sure that we meet those deadlines and then we keep clients' expectations settled.
Great.
Yeah, and actually, I saw a question in the chat about. Let me actually pull this up. Also, I'm seeing some pipeline specific discussions in the chat. Please don't discuss specific pipelines. If you have questions about specific pipelines, just ask your SPL or in the channel. We want to make sure that these are calls that everyone is in, so we cannot be discussing those. But someone asked, Ankush Nayar asked, a few people try to scare me by saying that by training AI, I am contributing towards AI replacing me in the future. Should I be afraid? So Will, I'm gonna ask you this question, but let me try to answer it first. I think the answer is no, and we are not replacing humans with AI by any means. I think there are some companies that kind of advertise this notion of our agent is to replace this function, and it's an ad that gets views, but it's not really the reality of what happens in really any agent. And I think the broad way that I would think about this, and I'll give an example, which is in our case recruitment agent. The broad way to think about this is like as models get good at certain functions and as agents get built to help to kind of use those abilities and be able to work in those functions. What happens is the existing set of functions that any given job has changes. The tasks that one usually does changes and sometimes quite fundamentally changes pretty quickly. But the job itself is still there. Of course, not in every single case, but I am predicting in almost every case, the job will be there, but the task types will change. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier, which is the task types actually become a lot more fun, and they become the ones that get automated first are the ones that are kind of tedious for that job function to do. And then ultimately what happens is there's new functions that are created by that same domain experts that are worked on instead. And then for the rest, there's this kind of AI agent that's operated. So one example, which I've used in the past, but I think it's for those that haven't heard it, is the recruitment agent example, which of course is like very familiar to us. We have a bunch of recruiters on micro1, and they are, I would argue, the most powerful recruiters on the planet. They interview hundreds of people every single day, and they're able to make hundreds of hires happen every single day as well. I don't think there's really any other even large enterprise that is able to do this large scale interviewing as well as hiring, but our recruitment team can because of this agent. And of course, our recruitment team has now become one of the most important teams at micro1. They're by no means being replaced. Their impact is increasing, and there are more eyes on the recruitment team relative to, let's say, before the micro1 AI recruiter agent. And what's happened now is again, two things. One is the recruiters are managing this agent. They're kind of the boss of this AI agent. And they orchestrate it to conduct interviews by setting up the interview environments. They review the reports of the interviews that come in to kind of make final assessments. They they come up with very creative sourcing strategies that's almost like recruitment marketing, which Sophie's quite good at. Um, that that weren't really functions within the recruitment, the typical recruitment role before. Like if you know thinking about this idea of like creating an interview environment where there's the conversational agent that goes and does the interview in the real world, that wasn't a thing before, and that's now something that recruiters spend hours a day on, right? Another thing is like working on these like very fun and complex sourcing strategies of talking to universities, maybe trying to get a partnership with Stanford, or setting up like a coding competition and hosting that to get people to sign up. These like marketing aspects of recruitment didn't necessarily exist before as like core functions of a recruiter's job. So I think this is an example of like the function space of a recruiter has changed quite fundamentally because of AI, has become more fun, they become more impactful, and their job is more important than ever. And I think this is gonna kind of happen across every domain essentially.
Yeah, that's Will. Do you want to add anything?
Awesome. I know that we only have 1 minute here, but I'll try to sum up my take here. I agree. I truly do not believe that AI is going to replace humans. The way that I see it is exactly what Ali said. I think the scope of your current job is going to change, meaning that we're going to add more responsibilities to your current scope. And if you break down all of your tasks on a daily basis, your routine, if you break them down, you likely identify tasks that you could have an agent, for example, do it for you, freeing up space and time so you can actually focus on things that really make you the best at the job that you do. So I'll use one very quick example. I spent more than a decade in sales. So agents in sales, for example, they could simply and quickly automate the heavy work and the heavy lifting that you do. For example, trying to find leads, trying to reach out to clients, trying to do outreach, code outbound, etc. So if you have that piece of your job automated, you could then focus on best ways where you can actually achieve the result and the ultimate outcome of your job, which is get face to face with clients, discovering questions, understanding their business, and proposing solutions. So I think this is a very good example of how AI can actually power you. And the last thing that I would say is don't be afraid of AI taking your job, but I think people should be wary of not knowing how to leverage AI systems because then eventually someone else with the same capabilities as you, but with this training in AI and understanding how AI agents work, they could, yes, potentially replace you at your job.
Should we keep going a little bit? Will, do you have time?
Let me
Let's have
see.
the audience vote. Or do you all want to stay longer? Do you want them to answer more questions? Let us know in the chat.
I just had a meeting canceled, so this is
I
fun.
Yeah,
Okay,
You
I
look
have
at
have
the
50.
chat. I think you need to answer a few more questions. We still have like 300 people here saying yes.
I have 15 more minutes.
All right,
All right,
let's keep.
maybe like a couple more questions and then we'll let you go, Will. Okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do it.
Okay, Ali, what about this one? What signals do you look at today to decide where micro1 should focus its energy within the future, within the human data ecosystem?
What signals? I think it, it's really, yeah, this is sort of a simple answer, but it's really just the demand from our customers. Whatever our customers want, we are there to serve them. And I think they obviously, they are basing their decisions on where to improve model capabilities on what's most impactful for humanity at any given time. And I think what's most impactful often comes from just the natural demand from existing AI applications. So AI applications that are kind of already working, um, model providers obviously need to kind of improve the models in those domains so that those AI applications continue working better. And so naturally we get a lot of data requests within, within those applications or within those domains. And so we kind of focus in on those areas. Um, and then I think the other thing is like what we were saying earlier, which is we think in the fullness of time, like many years from now, robotics and just models that can act in the world will be kind of the main architecture of most models. So we're taking, and that's a much smaller for now relative to demand from AI labs, but we're taking an early bet on that and kind of trying to accelerate as much as we can on having a bunch of robotics data pipelines. So yeah, I think those are two things. Also, it's great to see that there was 316 people before the session was supposed to end, and there's 317, 18 now.
18.
No, nobody left. Wow, incredible. Thank you.
Amazing.
19. They keep joining. Yeah. Will, do you want to maybe share a little bit of what problem Micro1's uniquely positioned to solve in the human data ecosystem today? We covered a little bit this already, but maybe.
Yes, yeah, sure. I would say two main things. I think the first one is speed. Again, I mentioned this earlier. There's truly an AI arms race happening right now, and every single request, every single requirement, they usually come with a very tight, deadline. So being able to count on a massive talent pool, which is what we have today, very diverse uh, across multiple domains and location. It's definitely something that helps us. But I would say that by leveraging Zara, which is our beautiful recruitment slash sourcing engine, we can quickly tap into any type of talent. So I would say that speed is definitely a bottleneck, and I think Micron is well positioned there. And then secondly, I would say uh, expert data and the way that we really find, because it's not only about finding the right profile. Whenever we get requirements, what usually happens is teams, they try to scope out what is the exact background, what are the credentials that we're looking on for specific experts that would do well on this job. But again, most recruitment cycles, most recruitment platforms, they focus on evaluating people based on their resume rather than understanding what are the skills required for that job and how well would they perform. And the way that we do this is literally by mimicking an actual job into an exercise within the interview itself, so we can actually see how that candidate would perform in the real world uh, job. So I guess being quickly also into identifying the right fit and avoiding mismatches helps us a lot. Uh, and yeah, I would say that as we advance, as we push, frontier labs are gonna keep needing expert human data, and this is not something that is first easy to find, and secondly, it is all about how we, for example, teach these experts how to put their expertise into data pipelines that are actually useful for models to learn from.
Yeah, and I think just one small point to add there. It's I think oftentimes people really enjoy this type of work, and because of how much they enjoy it, they get a little bit nervous of like maybe at some point this won't be needed. And I want to just give one kind of dimension of scale that I think is important to think about, that kind of proves the point that this will be needed forever, which is this, this notion of expert level data, which Will mentioned, is obviously our main focus. Um, so of course we talked about earlier about this idea of like actions and new actions being created and so forth, and those have to be automated, and that's of course part of it. But I think the other part that is a little bit more practical to think about is you the argument that you can make is like, if we already have lawyers and doctors and the best physicists in the world and biologists, etc., already training these models, and they're really just the best of the best in essentially every country, kind of where do we go from here? I mean, do we have to hire like Nobel Prize winners and like just really the greatest scientists on the planet? And I think, of course, we're going to hire some Nobel Prize winners soon, but I think that's not really where it stops. I think the way to think about it is not where we can go in terms of further human expertise, because of course, I think we are kind of at the maximum of human expertise if we do have these incredible doctors, lawyers, etc. The dimension of scale is how long and complex the tasks are. So the way to think about this is like, right now, most of the tasks that are created in most data pipelines is some version of question and rubric pairs that define what a good answer is. And of course, sometimes there's multi-step pipelines and preference labeling pipelines and so forth. But there isn't too many pipelines where it's like truly long horizon, where we really have to kind of build rubrics for many parts of one answer, or many steps to actually get to do some task. And so, the way that this kind of AI training industry continues to expand by far is by making tasks more and more real world, and by making them more and more long horizon, versus trying to kind of keep increasing the level of expertise, because the level of expertise is already almost at maximum. I mean, it's pretty much at maximum. We already have the greatest humans on the planet working at micro 1. So I think one very common worry I hear is, again, this notion of like, will this stop because we reached this maximum of expertise? And the answer is absolutely not, because there's an infinite number of environments that you can keep making longer and longer horizon to train on. And so the AHTs, of course, everyone on this call probably knows what AHTs means in terms of like average handling time for each task, will continue to increase as the tasks get more complex. So right now, maybe most AHTs are around 5 hours, 10 hours per task. There's some pipelines that are way above that, and eventually there's going to be pipelines that are hundreds of hours per one task. That is like one kind of major project that probably multiple experts have worked on, which becomes the
Exactly.
ultimate structured data point for the model to actually train on.
Do you guys think there's a gap between what AI teams want from experts and what other providers or most providers deliver, like versus micro 1?
Uh,
Will, you got this.
it's a I mean, it's always hard to say, and to truly understand what are the new initiatives within other companies. Of course, we do have a broad overall perspective of how other companies work, but yeah, I will go back to the gap of quickly finding experts that would generate expert human data. So I think as we evolve those models, we move a little bit more from extremely high volume journalists, very simple labeling slash annotation, to highly complex tasks where we have multiple experts, as Ali mentioned, working on a single task. Just like we have, for example, researchers in person at universities meeting every once in a while to discuss their thesis. It is pretty much the same, where we would really need to push human knowledge further to be able to deliver the result the clients are looking for.
Well, Ali, anything to add there?
No, nothing that.
Right, cool. I think we can combine two questions, one that I got and one on the chat I'm seeing here, to wrap it up before Will has to hop to another call. So what has been either the biggest challenge or surprise that you got from scaling micro 1 up to where we've gotten so far? You both can answer this one and then we can close it up. Either a
Ali, you want
surprise
to go
or
first?
challenge, whichever one
Yeah,
you prefer.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely
I
many
think,
challenges.
yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe I'll say a kind of a personal challenge here, which is, and Will and I talk about this a lot, which is this idea of like figuring out what to actually spend time on becomes really, really difficult. Um, I think both Will and I are very much leaders that like to be in the details, like maybe sometimes too much in the details. We probably annoy some team members of being in threads that they're like, why are we in those threads? But that's kind of naturally how we like to work. And I think as the company scales and as we have, now close to 100 people in the core team, and of course, many, many thousands of experts working with us, and huge human data ops team of hundreds of people, it, it you know, it, we sort of have to start being a little bit abstracted away from some of the details, and it becomes like a very difficult balance of deciding what to work on. So oftentimes I spend a lot of my time actually figuring out what to work on and like what's the best thing to focus on for the next hour. So and I think leadership series and webinars like this are definitely the best use of time. So we're very glad to do it. But yeah, I would say that's kind of one of the main challenges that I've come to, and part of it is, there's when you increase when you grow this much in 1 year, there's no time to kind of iterate on how you work and what you focus on. You have to very quickly change that. And we don't get this kind of multi-year um, duration to actually be able to kind of iterate on the work style. So it's a very interesting forcing function, but it's a fun one.
Thank you, Ali.
Awesome. So yeah, I'll wrap it up with a surprising one for me. When I joined micro1, we only had 10 people, and if we take only last year, we grew more than 30x. So with that, a lot of challenges. But talking about uh, wins and how surprised I was, I think we were highly adaptable because in order to grow that fast, you literally need to change things and iterate on processes, create new processes, hire a lot of new people, train those new professionals, and we're able to do that. We finished the year with I think 70% plus in terms of headcount. We have way more new processes, new departments. We've promoted multiple leaders, so a lot of professional and personal growth within the company. So yeah, it was definitely fun to see it. And it's a true, startup. We were changing the tires while the car was moving. It was quite challenging, but also fun, and I'm glad that we finished it strong. And now 2026 is going to be an amazing year for us.
It will. Thank you so much both for your time and also for everyone who stayed here the 45 minutes. I'm glad we did this. Like Ali said, I think if you guys enjoy these events, you can let us know and let the world know too. So we keep doing them. And hopefully we can get some other of our leaders here with Ali to share a little bit more about our amazing company.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone. It was a
Thank you,
pleasure.
everybody.
Thank
Great to see
See
you.
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.